sir.
Let us bring the City of Spartanburg City Council meeting to order. We're going to stand for a moment of silence, and then be led by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. Mayor Pro Tem, do you mind leading us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 3, we have the approval of the minutes for the October 14th, 2024 City Council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any that opposed? Ayes have the approval. Item 4, we have approval of the agenda of the October 28th, 2024 City Council meeting.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any that opposed? Ayes have it. We have any public comments?
No, sir, ma'am, we do not.
No public comments today. Everybody sounds surprised. Item 6, recognition of the 2024 Citizens Academy graduates. We will have Ms. Kathy Hills, Community Relations Manager, present our new graduates.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is our 7th year for our Citizen Academy program. And as you know, the program offers citizens and residents and individuals that are employed with the city opportunity to learn about the daily operations, the budget, administrative side of the city government. And as I said, this is an 8-week program. It's been pretty successful over the last few years, and we're very proud of it. Which way am I going, Chris? Yeah, it should work. Well,
Christopher got you in the back.
there we go.
There you go.
Thank you.
One more.
One more.
I'm already nervous. So as on here, you can see that the people that are involved in the program, they come from different backgrounds and stuff. And this year, we included, we have a retired structural engineer and geologist. We have stylists, contractors, a school administrator, and more. So after today's class, we will have a total of 192 graduates since 2017. This year, we have 29 graduates. Throughout the years, our graduates have become more engaged in their communities and more active. And some of them have actually become council members. They've become members of boards and commissions since their graduation. And I like to also say that we've had a total of 17 graduates who are currently serving as members of city boards and commissions. They're on the Planning Commission, Housing Board of Appeals and Adjustment, tax committee, the Civic Board, Public Safety Committee, and the Zoning Board. And I just put in a couple of testimonials from some people that are in the neighborhoods, and also like Hunter, he was a great person to get to know, and that's one of the things I love about the program is I get to know people and become friends with them. So he's currently at Converse College working on his master's degree, I believe, but he was in the program a couple years ago, and you can go to the next slide. And then Patty, asked her to do a little bit, and so Patty, she lives in the Converse Heights neighborhood, and she's interested in actually serving on the board or possibly running for council one year. And a lot of you probably know Jamar. He's a member of the Planning Commission, and then after going through Citizen Academy, he is now a neighborhood association president. I'd like to say thank you to Mayor and Council for supporting this program for many years. Thank you to the staff members that assisted me, Kinsley Aiken and Tia Beatty, for the last 8 weeks. And as you know, back in 2020, we had a virtual class. So this class was the Hurricane Helena class. And so we had to delay graduation and try to figure out how we could get the 2 classes that were remaining, police and fire, how we could get those done. And so I'm thankful to the police department and for the fire department when they were able to make time so that they could present to them. And they truly enjoyed their presentations. Thank you to the senior management, and a special thank you to our city team that presents each year. This is something that they do. It's 5:30 to 8 o'clock at night, and you know, it's a late day for all of us on a Tuesday. And but we did feed everybody, so hopefully that helped out a lot also. So I just want to ask the class this year, as I call your name, if you'll just stand so the council members can see you. China Addison, Kevin Brooks, Alfreda Campbell, Lakeisha Dalton, Rosalind Ferguson Fowler, Tosh McGlimp, Deborah Grant, Kylan Hayes, Georgette Hillstock, Tammy Holbert, Alexis Hunter, Tiara Jefferson Graddick, Zelina Jeter, Martha Jones, Terrell Jones, Landy Keenan, Tana Kudelka, Audrey Kudelka, those are our sisters. Angie Lane, Asia Littlejohn, Catherine McKay, Daryl Miller, Amul Patel, Shanika Robinson, Sarah Sims, Latricia Thomas, Tamika Whitmire, David Williams, and Arel Wright. And that is our 2024 Citizen Academy class. Have any questions, Wayne?
No, Kathy, to you and Kinsley and Tia, job well done, 192 with this class here, outstanding opportunity. And to the graduates on today, congratulations to you, but also, again, job well done going through the hurricane and all here, but just your willingness to give up of your time to really see how city government works, seeing the process in which a lot of us go through. So again, job well done. And to the young lady that's running for council one year and in the very near future, good luck. Run, seriously. I don't say that jokingly, but run. I mean, it's your right as a citizen to sit here as we do, and good luck to you. So thank you all for your participation.
I just want to say one more thing, is that it wasn't a good thing, but it was a first-hand thing for one of our academy graduates, Shanika Robinson. Her business was burned down 2 weeks ago, and so she got to meet on the last night of the class. She got to thank Chief Bruton and their crew personally.
Awesome.
And thank them for all that they did.
Well, we hate that happened to you. Councilwoman Littlejohn.
I just want to say congratulations to you all, and I was a part of, I think, the first class that you gave. So I am so thankful to Kathy and her crew for all that you do, because I thought I knew everything about the city up until I came through that class. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. We have item 7, boards and commission appointments. Spartanburg Housing Board, presenter Ms. Christy Lindsay, City Clerk.
Good evening, Mayor Council. I'm before you tonight on a recommendation from the Spartanburg Housing Board. They are recommending to have Mr. Tim Camp, who is part of Park National Bank, nominated to put on the board. So I will entertain your recommendations.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we appoint Tim Camp to the Housing Board.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any that oppose? Mr. Tim Camp, welcome to the Housing Board.
Thank you.
Christy, before you sit, any more, what are we,
So currently, we still have 2 openings on the hard board.
okay?
I know that the board has been talking about some nominations, and they're looking for recommendations to present to council. And then also, we have 1 opening for the Bike and Head Committee. That was one I brought to you guys recently.
Right.
And the person that we appointed 2. One of them moved to New York, and then the other one has now moved to Georgia. So I'm waiting to hear back from the Bike and Head board to give you guys some recommendations.
All right, graduates, you just heard that. We have some positions that are available. All right, resolution authorizing the city manager to execute documents to relate to the purchase of vehicles for the micro transit and fixed route pilot program. Presenter will be Mr. Kelvin Limehouse, Assistant City Manager, along with Mr. Dennis Locke, Finance Director.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Excited to come before you all today with not only a request for your proposal for vehicles, but an update on all that we're doing with microtransit. So we've done a good bit since the last time we talked with you all, and I want to give you an update on what we've done so far. So not only have we developed a pilot map that we're going to show you here shortly with our Sparta team, but we've made sure that all of the programmatic details that we could complied with state and federal regulations, which took a decent amount of time, but we wanted to make sure we had their blessing to pursue this pilot, that we were doing everything according to their guidelines, especially when we are audited by how we do this, what we're using funds, and how the program works and who it affects. So to that end, a lot of what we're doing with this purchase falls under state contract and is compliant with the Buy America program. We're working with a regional advertising firm for branding, and we hope to roll out some naming and some fancy wraps for our vehicles to show you here shortly. And then finally, actually, thanks to our friends in the media, we were contacted by Wake Forest after the last few articles about it, and they reached out and said, hey, we're really interested in microtransit. We see this as a trend. We'd love to study the city of Spartanburg. Can we be a part of the process? We will do a survey before the pilot for you, and then afterwards, and share the data with you. So not only are they fans of microtransit, but I understand they have a pretty decent football team, and we have
Go
some
Deeks.
with them. So really thankful to Wake Forest, and thankful for the attention to get them with us. So a little bit of information about the pilot. We intend this pilot to last a year, but depending on the data that we collect throughout, we want to have a 6-month review and let us course correct. If it's going really well, we can make some adjustments. If there's some room for improvement, we can make adjustments, and we can see how it's working for the city of Spartanburg from a budget standpoint, for an operations standpoint, and on. And we're really excited about collecting that data. One thing that I very much want to stress, and you're going to hear me stress this a few times throughout the presentation, is what we're going to present to y'all now likely could change between now and when we launch. And then certainly once we launch the pilot and the end of the pilot, there's a good chance for programmatic changes. Just by the nature of the data that we'll collect, we want to streamline processes and make it the best it can be for our citizens. And by the nature of a pilot, we'll course correct as needed, based on the data we collect. This is a map of the area we're going to serve, so everything in blue will be our pilot area. I'm going to zoom in on that just so y'all can see, but as y'all can see, this is mostly the north and south side. So without going into the nerdy details, the quick version of how we got to this map is we tried to highlight a few populations that we wanted to provide services to, that we thought we could get the appropriate level of data. Additionally, we wanted to make sure that we were getting to areas of service, whether that be medical, food, pharmaceutical, etc. And we knew that it was going to be hard drawing that line. So every time we drew this, and we drew it a number of times, it was always, hey, if we do one more block over, we can include X. Well, at some point we had to stop ourselves and say, we're not going to have the appropriate data unless we do an area like this. And so with all those factors, we knew we weren't getting everybody, but we got as many people as we could to get the right data to see if this is a viable project for the city of Spartanburg. And if you can see on here, you know, we hit a number of different amenities within this zone. Spare is the name of the app and programming that we're going to use both for our citizens and internally. So you download an app just like you would with any other type of service. You fill in your information, you press it, you know, you say, here's where I'm going, here's the people that are riding with me, you purchase your ticket, and you get in the queue to get picked up, go to your destination, and, you know, reverse the process as you need. One of the things we really like about this is the user feedback you can see on the right-hand column. So one of the things that we're going to encourage citizens is to please give us as much feedback as possible. We're only as good as the data we get. And we need feedback from our riders, from our citizens, so that we can improve services and see if this works for us. On the back end, we'll have a dashboard that has a variety of different data points for us to collect, from how long does a ride take, how many people are on there, where are the destinations people are going, and many others. And we'll use this data to adjust the program as we move forward. And that's data that we don't necessarily have now, but will improve our decision-making abilities. There's an awful lot of customization. So this is what Clemson does, and y'all can see that, you know, you brand it appropriately, you name it whatever. There was the idea of the Spartanburg Express, but that didn't go very far, so we're going to try something else. That was loose, isn't it? But no, we should have something coming here soon, and we're excited about making this something that is city specific. This is a service that the city is doing. We want people to be proud and excited about that, and we want the branding to go along with it. It also offers customization as far as hours, you know, how much we charge and the rest. So again, I want to clarify that a number of these things will likely change over time. But for the sake of data and the pilot, we're doing $2 per rider. This is credit card only for now. We're trying to get other options, but there's a number of factors that go into, you know, this, with safety of the drivers, carrying cash, with the compatibility with apps, with rules related to federal and state procurement guidelines, and a number of other things. Hours of operation, we've talked about this a good bit, but we wanted to have it matching our existing system, and that way, excuse me, it helps us get the correct data. Pickup and drop off are within that blue zone that you saw. One thing that's very important to note is there's no changes to existing routes. So if there is a bus route now, no changes will be made to that. This is an auxiliary service that will supplement those existing routes. We wanted to give you all an example of riding the bus now versus microtransit. So this is some locations that we picked. We picked C.C. Woodson going to the Food Lion on the north side of it at Pinewood. So if you were to do that now, you can see how long it would take you, roughly 45 minutes, with a number of stops, and then you also have to walk 1 mile. So it's not curb to curb as microtransit is said to be. However, if you do our coming microtransit app and you're at CC and you want to go to the Food Lion, it should take you about 10 or 20 minutes depending, and you go curb to curb. So you don't have to walk 1 mile with your groceries. You can go from one place to the other and back. These are the vehicles we'd like to purchase. They are 100% paid by SCDOT funds. That's the State Mass Transit Fund. Dennis can tell you some more about that in a minute. But they're about $160K. They are ADA compliant. So as you can see in the diagram, plenty of seats for riders, including if you're in a wheelchair. One of the things that we were excited about with this vehicle is it also had a luggage rack, so if people did have groceries, they had the means to, you know, put that and not have to carry it in their seat. But we'd like to get 3 of these. 2 will be running the microtransit pilot. 1 will be a backup in case we need it, something happened. But apart from the microtransit, we wanted to talk to you about this vehicle purchase. So, you know, we have our fixed bus routes, and those buses last for about 12 years, and we milk that as long as we possibly can, with a lot of know-how and trying to get things, wishing and hoping to work. And they cost about $800K. And some of our Some of our routes are low ridership, so instead of spending 800K on a brand-new bus that will be utilized by 12 to 20 people a day, we thought that we might try one of these vehicles, the Starcraft shuttle bus, which is considerably cheaper. Even if they're only 5-year vehicles, if you buy multiple ones, they're still cheaper. They do not require a CDL driver. They do not require the wait times for a bus. They do not require the expensive cost of bus vehicles. They're easier to get and faster. We can provide better service to our citizens. There's a sustainability element. We reduce our carbon footprint. We reduce the overall cost of the budget and increases our ability to serve people. These also meet ADA requirements and have ability to get wheelchairs in there and have a whole lot of opportunity. So not only does it help our existing routes, but if microtransit goes well, we now have a flexible vehicle that could work in a variety of different scenarios. So we're trying to future-proof regardless of what this data says. All of this is meeting within our city planning. So the comprehensive operations analysis that Sparta did back in 2019-ish, some of the recommendations were to move this way. And then, of course, there were a number of elements from the comprehensive plan that this hits on and enhances. I'm going to let Dennis come up here and talk about budget, and then we'll come back and talk about some next steps.
Mayor and Council, just a quick overview of the budget. Several years ago, we got a grant from the federal government for the COVID that we had not used yet. So this is 100% funds. And so it's our recommendation that we use these funds for the microtransit system. And you can see we just sort of projected out what the different costs would be for this one-year pilot program, the employee cost, the fuel, the insurance, et cetera. And like I said, the good thing about this, there's no required match. As you know, with most of our federal funds, there's usually either a 80-20 match on capital items, and it's a 50 match for operations. So this gives us a good opportunity to try out this pilot program, and the costs are fully covered by a grant that we already have. So if you have any other questions about the budget, as I already mentioned, we have a other grant that we using from the state for the buses. Because we had got several other grants during COVID, we didn't have to use our state mass transit grants the past 5 years. So we just sort of saved those up, and then they agreed for, since we're starting this pilot program, that those purchases could be used at 100%. So it's really, it's a benefit to the city that we're using these funds in this way if City Council agrees.
Dennis, and there's no timeline on those monies?
For the operate, probably to 2029.
Okay.
It's usually that long. I'm going to look at Lewis. Yeah, to 2029 for those type grants.
Okay.
But Dennis, that money, that's not the part of the $16.5 million
Not at all. It's
ARPA?
totally separate.
Okay, so this is a specific grant.
For transit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dennis, that $4,000 for marketing, does that include what Kevin mentioned, the regional, the branding of this? That
Yes.
seems very low.
It might be more. That was just my estimate with it. It might be more the marketing. So we have some more room in the budget for that. You can see with the no, we have $412,000, and I've only budgeted about $394. So that's another $16,000 that we have available that we could use for the marketing or any other expense regarding microtransit.
Okay.
I guess I got more, Kevin, like operational
Well,
questions.
yeah, I mean, are you finished?
Yeah, you guys have.
No,
But I do have one more question.
No, I mean, I'm sure all of us have
Dennis.
questions. We wanted to see if Kelvin, I mean, I know you got a question of Dennis, but were you coming up next for questions?
Yeah, you come back. Yeah, right.
Okay.
I just wanted to know if Dennis is going to be the resident driver. Your picture
That was just a
was
joke.
included in the
You don't mind
graphic.
Dennis driving. You can ask
Okay.
me to lock that question.
Sure.
But any
Okay.
other questions about the budget I can answer? All righty.
Projected employee costs, how many employees is that?
That's included about 5 part-time employees and the potential for maybe 1 full-time employee. We're still debating that, how we're gonna handle that.
All right, last thing, some next steps for y'all. So what we'd ask is, you know, if it's y'all's will, we'd like to approve the purchase of these vehicles. Moving forward from that, we'd begin ordering and branding the vehicles and getting our community engagement together. Wake Forest plans to put out a pre-survey into this year before we launch. We'll engage those community engagement programs where we teach people about the app, ask questions, talk to them about needs, and gather as much information as we can and tweak as appropriate. Basically do some education programs. We hope to launch in quarter of 25. And then, again, I want to note, not just for all of y'all, but for the citizens listening, that this is a pilot and content shift during travel. So there is a good chance that as we collect data, we will shift the program accordingly, both from now until we will launch, but certainly once we launch and start collecting data. And again, it is critical that our citizens share as much as they possibly can with us. We need their feedback and value it. So that's what makes this pilot exciting. So we appreciate y'all's support, but certainly happy to answer any questions.
Sure, and I'm sure everyone have a few questions, but one quick one, and you mentioned feedback.
Yes, sir.
Kelvin, and you and I had a conversation, and I told you I just Ubered probably the first time a few months ago.
Yes, sir.
So if I'm not technology savvy, I know everyone that has a cell phone has a smartphone.
Yes, sir.
But how do you teach me, or better yet, I'll use my mother as an example.
Sure.
How do you teach my mom that she needs to download this app,
Yes,
have, give my address?
that's right.
You know, now I go into the store, buy whatever I need to buy up.
Sure.
Now I gotta come back down, request the vehicle again.
That's right.
So, and I see you have community engagement.
Yes, sir.
That's, how do we reach?
So I think it's a few ways. I think the first thing is one of the things I'm most proud of the city is we are a customer service driven organization with the well-being of our folks in mind. So that means that they should be able to reach us by email, by phone, by knocking on our door, and no matter how many times they ask, we help them make sure they're square. Because a lot of it will be repetition, right? Like even when I learn a new program, it'll go away if I don't use it. And so the other method is by making sure that we have a variety of ways that they can get to information. So it's not we go to a church group one time and they never see us again. It's that we're available in our community centers, that they can come visit us at City Hall, that there's things on our websites, and that they know our phone numbers. So if they're at Food Line and they're like, oh man, I can't remember how to do this, that staff's available to be able to help. Because that's what we want. Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Also to that point, feedback.
Yes, sir.
How do I give you my feedback? Will that be online as well? Or?
Yes, sir. So the app itself will have mechanisms where you can provide feedback. But again, all those things that I mentioned about, hey, give us a call or shoot us an email.
Yeah.
We'll take a bike with no wheels. Just get us some information and we'll do what we can. Yeah.
A bike with no wheels. And one last, Kevin, and you and I had a conversation. I would like to see us extend those hours, 6 to 6. Winter months, I know it's dark and all, but summertime, it doesn't get dark till about 8,
That's right.
8:30-ish.
Yes, sir.
So, and folks are still out and about, still trying to finish up their day-to-day. Just,
But, Mayor, to your point, I think as we continue to collect data and see people's needs, we have that flexibility to be able to adjust. And you make a great point about, summertime and winter and how that light makes a difference. But there's a lot of other patterns that affect it too. Like Ms. Smith and I were talking about, after school and
Yeah.
people doing things that, maybe they're going from the high school to their job, or various different elements that will, dictate how we tweak those hours and all those services. Where do we station, our shuttles, based on location and use? So yes, sir, we'll have a whole lot of numbers to crunch and ability to adjust.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Question?
Yeah, Mayor, you asked the same questions that I had asked Kevin, so I'm glad that you brought those
Yeah,
questions.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, Councilwoman.
I was just going to say, with the community engagement program, are you also going to make sure that someone's in the neighborhood association meetings to share with those who are not technically able
Oh, yes,
to
ma'am.
do that?
One of the best ways you can get at stuff is train the trainer, right? So, if we engage folks and help them train up, they can teach their neighbor and on. So as much we can get to folks, if y'all, you have people you recommend, or if people listening to council's, meetings, if they want to come in and help us spread the word, we'd be glad to have, more bandwidth and helpers. It'd be wonderful.
Awesome. Councilman Rain?
So the only way to sign up is through the app?
Correct,
Is that right?
sir.
And then if you go to the map, the service area.
Sure.
Do both ends, or the pilot area, I guess I should say,
Yes, sir.
do both ends of the trip have to be
Yes, sir.
within this area? So if you wanted to go to the hospital,
Yes, sir.
you couldn't take this there? Like, you gotta start and end your trip in that pilot area?
Correct, yes, sir. So we tried to include a few medical facilities up there in the, I guess, northeast quadrant.
It's in there.
Looking the wrong, where am I? Oh, okay.
Blue.
So, but you couldn't go, I'm trying to think
Couldn't go to Walford.
couldn't go to Wofford,
Right.
Walmart.
couldn't go to Walmart.
So there,
You can go to one of them, right?
You can't go to
No.
Walmart?
You can go to the hospital, I said, you can't go to like,
I know.
you couldn't go to the
Well-
high school.
we're giving you,
This is just a pilot program.
Yes,
ma'am. Yeah.
That's
And then
right.
after the 6 months, we can
Correct.
see where we need to spread
that's
out.
right. And,
I thought maybe what you were talking about is you had to live in the pilot area to register, but it's not that, it's that you've got to, both ends of the trip have to be in the pilot.
so, well, we want this for those residents. So we may change that programmatically between now and then, but that gives us some pretty clean data if we keep it that way. And again, we don't want to exclude people from out of there, but we had to start somewhere. And to Ms. Sally's point, as a pilot. And, the question about Walmart, we thought about Walmart a whole heck of a lot, right? But if Walmart's a 15-minute drive for one person or two people in the car,
Yeah, you're not-
and then it comes back, that data gets skewed. So now we don't have appropriate data because it slows down our response times. So especially with two vehicles, we had to keep it in that range. Now, if the program does well and then we expand, now we have the ability to increase the fleet, increase the geofencing of where people can get picked up, and now you can have more locations. But, go ahead, sir, I'm sorry.
How many grocery stores are?
So I think there's
One.
there's one Food Lion, there's a few discount grocery stores, there's a number of Walgreens, CVS's, Dollar Generals, and other, stores of convenience. But again, it was, hey, if we do one more block, we can include, but we had to start cutting it at some point. And so we tried to make the best use of the geography as we could.
Kevin,
Yes, ma'am.
I, with many hope that we'll be able to expand the blue zone. None of the neighborhoods on the west side will be able to be serviced by the pilot. And we are one of the commercial centers of the city with a Walmart that I frequent often. But one of the questions, you brought up the question that I had for you about the age of which the minimum age someone has to be to use this on their own. And we talked about, it couldn't be a high school student, but a student at Carver who's participating in the youth theater and needs to get to Chapman Cultural Center. I think it's important that we keep our young people in mind. And then also our mothers with babies. And if I don't have a car, I might not have a car seat. Are there going to be car seats available to parents who have a child that needs to be in one?
We certainly can look into it. When you go to the app, it's not as well reflected on here, but in the left-hand image, there's different, you can see where it says one rider. You can click on that and you can make adjustments for, hey, I'm in a wheelchair, or hey, there's two riders, this is the age of my child. We haven't talked about car seats, but we can certainly look at it as an option. The takeaway is, regardless of if it's, age-related question, a safety-related question, or, accessibility-related question, one of the reasons we picked this is the ability to customize it as needed. And I think, if that's something that, we see coming up often, we can adjust appropriately. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Kevin, now speaking on that, if you only have 7 seats,
Yes, ma'am.
and you have a car seat, well, that car seat is going to need a seat by itself, right?
Correct.
So that's going to eliminate some of this space.
Yes, ma'am. And just like, if you and Mr. Rain were riding together and you said you wanted to go to Walmart, and I said, well, you can't, but you can go somewhere else. You can, that was a joke, there'll be others later. Y'all could get in the car, Mr. Rain doesn't need a car seat, but you're still gonna take up two. So, same scenario. Yes, ma'am, we just need to factor in, the ability of possibly having a car seat as a component.
Kevin, is there a long lead time for delivery of these vehicles? I mean, you've got a launch of first quarter of '25. I mean,
Yes,
if
sir.
you go today, can you get the vehicles in?
We can, yes, sir, and that's why we're coming to y'all now with a few variables still unanswered, like car seats and other things. Like, we want to get ahead of this so we can meet that launch. And it thankfully does not take the extreme amount of time it does for a bus, but it still takes a handful of months, and so we want to get ahead of it.
And I can't remember the name, but the larger vehicle, the Star
Sure,
vehicle
yes,
or whatever.
Starcraft, yes, sir.
Do you envision taking one of our existing buses out of rotation for some of those routes to see how that?
So what we'll do with the Starcraft is instead of riding that exact same route with a larger bus that is near the end of its life and honestly probably beyond it, we now replace it with this. So same route, just a different type of vehicle. And again, with it being low ridership, you won't have a giant bus with just two people on it. It'll be, a more compact vehicle.
And you may have said it, but as part of your data capture, will you be able to have an insight into where people want to go that are not being currently serviced by the
Yes, sir.
pilot route?
So that, again, that feedback option gives us, some opportunities to learn more. Not only in where they're selecting to go within the blue zone, but as they offer feedback, if they say, boy, it sure would be nice if I could go to the brand new Whataburger, then that's data that we now have and can incorporate into expanding the program.
But that's kind of qualitative. I'm thinking about like what the bounce backs were. Like, I want to go to Walmart and it gets bounced back.
Oh,
'cause it's
sure.
You know
Oh,
what I'm
yes,
saying?
sir.
So then you have an aggregate number you can,
That's right.
yeah.
Kevin, with this being a pilot, we don't know what success is because we haven't done this before. Are we benchmarking against other communities that have done this, that are around our size?
Yes, ma'am. I think it's a variety of factors. I think it's, certainly compared to other communities. And while we're on the subject, there have been a number of communities who have been kind enough to give their time to speak with us about the lessons learned. Lewis, Dennis, and I even visited Georgia, Gainesville, Georgia, and learned a tremendous amount from their program. But apart from comparing to peer communities, I think we'll need to see budgetary, and operational costs and how that works for us. And I think we'll have
Please
to.
silence that phone, Mr. J. Squires.
He's a busy man right now. He should be answering
He's
this
the only
phone.
one that
That's
the phone can
most-
go off on right now, really.
But it also should be feedback from the community, so I think the biggest metric is the voice of our people and, is it working for them? What do they like? What do they don't like? And, how do we adjust appropriately?
How will we determine success?
I'd probably say those three factors I mentioned compared to the other communities, budget and operations, feedback from citizens, but I'd say the other metric is it being used? And is it being used efficiently? And again, that dashboard that we'll have will be able to give us some information on how many people are using it, where are they going, how fast is it, being serviced, and all the rest. So I think there'll be some internal calculations on, are we doing a successful job? Like, can we service our citizens?
If I might add one thing to that answer that I think is, that will gain a lot through this pilot is strategically as the community grows and becomes more dense and more active and that type of thing. We have two routes to go to, or two pathways we can follow to improve transportation services. One is the microtransit through the pilot. The alternative path is investing more in our fixed route system over time. In other words, we got some 1-hour loops. If those, we could double up and make those half-hour loops. We could, we could add additional routes to our fixed route system. So those are strategic options available to us. So I think one of the best ways to look at this pilot is it'll help us determine which of those two pathways is the better way to meet some of the community goals for getting where folk need to get. Because we know what we're doing today with fixed route. We know how many people are using it, where they're getting on, where they're going off, how long it takes them to make that trip, just like the example Kevin gave. And we know that that level of service is essential to some folks, but it is not nearly as good of a level of service as we would like to provide. And so really the core question is microtransit a better way to provide a higher level of service with the same amount of investment and resource that we currently are?
Yes, ma'am.
Kevin,
You've been waiting patiently.
you mentioned the feedback, and not everyone does have a smartphone. So you mentioned that folks will be able to call as a means of scheduling
So we're
that
working
up
on.
as well?
Yes, ma'am. So for right now, it's app-based, but we're working on opportunities to see if we can do phone calls. So we crunched the numbers, and 88% of people worldwide have a smartphone, 90% in the U.S. and 92% in Spartanburg County. So we played the numbers, and we're working on a phone option, just in case. But we felt pretty good about those numbers. Yes, ma'am.
And with regard to the pricing, how does that differ from the current rates for the bus service?
Ma'am, it's 125 right now.
So we're increasing
Yes, ma'am.
the rate.
We didn't want to do too much to deter, but it is a more advanced type of service that provides an increased level, and so we thought that it was appropriate to have an increased price for that.
I personally think that, given the targeted areas,
Yes, ma'am.
we know what those income areas are as well. So I think that the price difference alone could be a deterrent for
Yes, ma'am.
people being able to use it, which then I don't think we would have the opportunity to get accurate data.
Sure.
The other thing is the bus fee is $125, but is it different for disabled folks when they use their ID?
Yes, ma'am.
So a lot of those disabled folks live on Social Security, so that rate too would also be an increase on them for $2?
Well, I think, just like you mentioned, disability folks, there's a lot of wiggle room we have to customize based on some of those criteria. And if I recall, I believe we're federally mandated to make sure that we provide that for disabled folks. Yeah. So I think that would apply as well to microtransit. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I do think that's something we need to look at before, that's not something I would be comfortable looking at, 6 months down the road. I mean, they're already, I work with a lot of folks who,
Yes, ma'am.
literally are penny to penny, paycheck to paycheck, and increasing that rate to $2 flat for everyone, I think is gonna, maybe make them not able to get to some of the destinations that they might need to get to.
Yes, ma'am.
And just one point to keep in mind is that none of the current service changes.
Correct.
So if fixed route is working for folks, and at the current policies, then that will maintain, will continue to be an option.
Well,
We're not taking anything away
Right,
to add.
but don't you worry then folks are gonna say, well, I'm just gonna use the cheaper route and use the service that's already available because I don't have an extra, 75, I mean.
$1.50,
don't you-
basically.
Yeah, I mean,
And I think that there absolutely could be some of that, but I think door-to-door customized, each ride through this microtransit method is customized to the individual, and it's door-to-door, and it's faster, and it's on demand, and you don't have to time your appointments to when the routes come. It is a very different service. It's an apple and orange, but I mean, we're certainly sensitive to that dynamic as well, but I just, they're not really directly comparable in the flexibility and the convenience. Now, if folks happen to live right at a stop and have the current routes serve them well, then I don't expect them to change. But we expect this to be heavily in demand for its much more convenient approach to transit service.
So-
But that's certainly a council
just had-
policy.
Yeah,
You all can certainly direct what we charge.
and I would just hope that we keep that at the forefront. You know, I don't want folks who can't, you know, the price point going up for them to be deterred from using a service that really can truly, if they are disabled, get them from door to door. It's like, well, you're disabled, sorry, you have to take the longer route because that's all you can afford. I really want us to keep that at the forefront, and I'm a little uncomfortable with the price point change at this, rolling this out in this way. I like the idea. I mean, obviously, we've been talking about this for a very long time, but I hope that we keep that at the forefront of this conversation, because I think that impacts those folks.
So during the pilot program, the regular buses will still be running
Correct, yes,
at the
ma'am.
same time?
That's right.
So they could opt to
Yes, ma'am.
utilize the rate difference?
That's right.
They just get a different service. They don't get door to door.
Right.
Kevin,
Yep.
if we don't have, I mean, do we have a projection of how many people are gonna use it? Like how many trips two vans can serve?
No, sir. But that's the data we're hoping to collect, to be able to understand. And we have stuff from other communities, and, you know, it varies depending on population and how much they've implemented microtransit versus still relying on fixed route and a variety of other variables. But that's what we're hoping to find out.
Because I
And
think it-
Kevin, I would hope that if we're not seeing the data we would want to see,
Yes, ma'am.
we don't come to the conclusion that this isn't a needed service, but maybe our sample size is too small.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I think one of the things we'll do is once, you know, we collect things and analyze it, talk about it with peers and advisors, and certainly, you know, come back with y'all to, you know, talk more about what we're seeing and, you know, how it's interpreted. Yes, ma'am.
Because I'd love to see it if we're not getting enough use, you say, okay, well, either the front end or the back end of the trip must be in the sample area, but you can go,
Right.
you either gotta start there or you gotta end there.
Yes, yes,
But
sir.
you can go elsewhere in the city to
That's right.
more than the one grocery store or other places of work.
So we could, I mean, the nature of the pilot, we can customize it as needed, right? You know, so Ms. Smith, to your point, you know, if we're not getting the data that we need, we can adjust the variables to see if that makes a difference.
I'm saying it's, once you roll it out and people know that this is the service area, they may not give it another thought if,
Yes, sir.
where they wanna go in the service, like
Yes, sir.
going to work or whatever.
Kevin, I think it'd be critical to get quarterly updates,
Right on. Yes, sir.
so that we can stay, current in our knowledge of this and help suggest,
Yes, sir.
changes as needed.
No, I'd be glad to.
Good.
And I would like to see it, and I know that this is a pilot program, and we have time that, we can go back and address this, but I would love to see it going to at least one of the Walmarts that we have.
Yes, ma'am.
Because there's one down in Glen Springs that is right down Union Street.
Yes, ma'am.
You have to go to the east side or west side, but there's one right down.
The
But is that in
neighborhood,
the city, Ruth? I don't think that's in the city.
That's in county.
That's in the city.
Ms. Littlejohn, to
City
your
trip.
point, though, we looked at, we looked at a variety of service locations, right? So we actually looked at that location. We looked on the west side, we looked at, Publix and beyond on the east side. And again, while we wanted to provide those services, we thought that if we did that, that would tremendously skew the data, just because of the length of time it would take for ridership. if we, you know, my mama always says, if I had my druthers, so if I had everything I wanted and we had, you know, we could do the whole city and we had a fleet of things that could keep everything efficient and on time, we could go to every Walmart. But, you know, we got 2 vehicles that we're gonna try and do it in a tight time frame, and we want people to feel confident that they can get somewhere in a timely manner versus, you know, hey, Ms. Smith went to Walmart, now I gotta wait for it to come back before I go up to the CVS, and that's an extra 30 minutes versus, you know, otherwise. So I mean, I hear y'all, I promise I do, and we'll work to it, but I want y'all to know it wasn't for no reason that we excluded Walmart. I like Wally World. I go there.
Good first.
Might be a
One of the-
for a sponsorship.
Those kind of things have been tried in other communities and continue to be tried, you know, having specific relationships with specific destinations. But one other thing I would add to that is we expect some users to couple the services and use, you know, depending on how their home sits in relation to the route that goes through their area, they may find that it makes sense to use microtransit to get downtown, and from downtown, take the bus east or west or north or south. And that may still be a much better, you know, right now, there are parts of our community that to get to either of the major commercial nodes with the Walmarts on the east side and the west side, that the 90 minutes is the best you can do to make that trip. This cuts that significantly for folks that would be able to take microtransit to the transfer center and then go east or west if they're outside of this area.
Are kids free?
We can do it based on age. I think under a certain amount is free, but over.
Well, I mean, the bus service, what is the age for children that's free for the bus service?
Based on height.
Based
on
on-
height.
On height, which is,
36 inches.
I don't know what that is. What's 30?
3 feet,
Small.
a baby,
I mean,
toddler.
I was pretty tall. boy.
That's what I was
come
about to
on.
say that, you know, you were a tall kid.
I was a tall kid, but I was still like tall as a 3-year-old, so.
And I'm glad they brought up, now, what age do I need to be in order to use microtransit by myself?
Well, we can set that variable. At this point, you know, you need a credit card, you need to be able to have a phone, and you need to have an app. But we can work on the variables based on that. You know, again, Ms. Smith, you know, things about Carver and, you know, people getting to different places. You know, we want to try and include people as we can. Are there any restrictions related there that y'all can think of for age? So
You can hear the interest from council and with all the questions and all, so I think it's something that we're really interested in, but
Yes, sir.
we see that when we do understand it is a pilot, but with that being said, we do need a motion in order to move forward.
Correct, yes, sir. And y'all, everything that y'all mentioned, you know, we'll report back and, you know, see what we can do. But additionally, one of the reasons I said that things will probably change from now until launch is not only y'all's comments, but as we engage the community, there's gonna be some smart people who thought about things that we didn't think about, or variables that we didn't think about. So we wanna have the flexibility to adjust appropriately.
When you adjust, do you need to come back to us each time, or are you gonna take that feedback of how it's impacting the community? And, you know, I don't wanna delay changes that might need to be made immediate, that can make it easier for riders.
Unless Bob or Chris tell me otherwise, I think programmatic changes are within our scope to be able to adjust. You know, but we certainly would welcome your feedback along the way. And, you know, Mr. Fulmer, we could do the quarterly updates, or if y'all have, you know, comments for us in between, you know, and certainly we can always send email updates in between.
How soon can we submit comments?
I mean, I'm writing notes right now, so,
Let's get it back down to $1.25.
all right, we'll see what we can do, yes, ma'am.
All right, entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we authorize the city manager to purchase the vehicles for microtransit pilot program.
Do I have a second? I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any that oppose? Unanimous. Thank
y'all
you.
very much.
Mr. Limehouse, Mr. Locke, and the team. Mr. Story, staff updates.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I will try to be brief. I think the biggest activity ongoing in the community of interest to all residents is our efforts to clean up from Hurricane Helene. Really pleased with the progress being made in that regard. I know that there are neighborhoods we have not touched yet, and if you reside in those neighborhoods, you may have the sense that that there isn't substantial progress, but there is. We have moved between our team and our contractors over 41,000 cubic yards of storm debris. 41,000 cubic yards. It's hard to wrap your mind around that, but the typical open top construction site dumpster is 30 cubic yards. So that gives you an order of magnitude to think about how many truckloads have been moved out of city rights of way to be processed, moved along. Any given day, well, there are at least 7 crews in the city. Yes.
Just one quick, the Citizens Academy has an event they have to get to, so they didn't want to disturb us by leaving, so, but
I'm used
thank
to
you
people
all.
walking out while I'm talking. Y'all go right ahead.
Everybody.
Chris, do we have an estimate on what, like, length of time now, 2 weeks in since our last meeting to get to everywhere?
Okay.
We don't have
You need
an
to see it.
estimate as to when we
not
think
that,
we'll be done.
At the airport.
Okay.
Oh, no, we're fine. I'm just waiting for the mayor to be ready.
No, we're good.
Okay. Councilman Rain's question was, do we have an estimate for when we'll be done with storm debris?
We're
And
substantially done.
the honest answer is we don't yet have that. We are working to develop that. We have daily data on how many how much material we move in a given day, and we're working on mapping of areas that have been covered versus areas that haven't, and be able to use that to extrapolate some frame. But we're not quite to that point yet.
Still at 6 crews, 6 days a week.
It's actually with 7 crews running 7 12-hour days. And so that's, and that pace will continue as long as it needs to. A couple of things that we have to keep in mind is that, you know, we're gonna make multiple passes. So folks may have a sense that we've left a job incomplete or something to that effect, but there might be points at which that we do that, but we're trying to come back around. Prioritization of this activity is, you know, we're trying to balance 2 things in the prioritization of it. One is operational efficiency. You know, you want to work, you want to spend as less time driving across town and more time picking up as best you can. Also, we want to factor in safety, and by that we mean vehicle and pedestrian safety, which means that it makes sense to kind of focus on areas that are more densely populated, that have more through traffic, as opposed to, you know, for example, I live on a low density cul-de-sac. I should be last, you know, and that's the logic that we're trying to employ as a general rule. And so that, that's part of our thinking there. Also want to clarify that there's different team working on SCDOT rights of way. And SCDOT rights of way include some streets that are within neighborhoods, also includes 4-lane roads, that type of thing. So different team approaching those. We're doing our best to coordinate and communicate, but there will absolutely be times when folks say, well, I saw that they cleared the right-of-way in front of my neighbor's house, but didn't get me. And we know that dynamic is occurring, and we will get everywhere eventually, but we know it can be confusing to folks.
Chris, with Halloween being Thursday night, and I'm sure many children like mine will be out and about, how are we working with neighborhoods, especially neighborhoods like Converse Heights that usually has a huge influx of families? Are we doing anything in addition to promote safety that night?
We are in at least in a couple of neighborhoods. Let me jump back and say that one of the things that makes a neighborhood really attractive to trick-or-treating are the same variables I was just referencing. They tend to be relatively dense neighborhoods and that have a good bit of presence. In other words, the example I was using of the low-density cul-de-sac, that's not great trick-or-treating ground anyway. You want to go into the denser neighborhoods for trick-or-treating, and so we've tried to factor that in and have prioritized a couple areas that we know are pretty heavily, where folks from other neighborhoods tend to go there for trick-or-treating. There will be a couple of neighborhoods that have streets closed off on Halloween night in coordination with our special event team to do that.
Yeah,
If we wanna-
prior to the storm, our engagement with some of those neighborhood associations, we encourage them to coordinate with our special events team. So we have a special events application where a request was made for us to accommodate some of those requests. And we responded with our recommendations on what's appropriate, what's adequate. And so we've had direct conversations. And so steps have been taken based upon the application.
And I've received some questions about publishing a list of those streets that are going to be closed. Are we going to do that?
We've asked the neighborhood associations to do that.
Okay.
As the special events organizers.
Can you tell us what any of those are?
Yeah. So I don't have that information.
Okay.
So we provided that back to the applicant, and they are then charged with, we're treating it like any event.
Right.
Any private event. It is not a city event.
Right.
It is an event led by the neighborhood association. So we're asking for them to lead that communication.
But they're also city streets.
Correct.
So-
And the relevance to Helene is so many streets in Converse Heights are still completely full of debris, and it makes it unsafe then to walk into the street around the debris. So that's where,
Jay and I, along with Lieutenant McClure, had a meeting on site, and that discussion led to the recommendations that were made.
Great.
Chris?
But it will be a special Halloween. It won't be your average one.
Yeah.
We're gonna
The debris gonna add to it.
gonna ask folks to be extra careful.
Chris, you mentioned, the order in which streets are, given service, et cetera. How, is there, I don't want, folks from the community to start calling and saying, but just knowing a couple within the downtown, considered downtown corridor, North Dean, I don't know, those trees over by, Burton's Law Office, those trees are so huge that I've literally almost witnessed several head-on collisions because it's almost taking me back to Helene when people don't know what a four-way stop is. And so you've got folks who are going, 35, 40, and others that are going that way. And the tree debris that is on that street is actually, it's only one lane right now. So folks are, and so, I don't want that to take precedence over any other streets, but I know that is a highly trafficked street because folks cut through off of Daniel Morgan and St. John, so.
And as we've made some headway, I think it's entirely appropriate for you all and others to let us know where there are vehicle traffic safety issues that are of concern like that. There is no harm that comes with pinging an email to say, you know, because we know that there's a whole lot left to do, a whole lot. There's more left to do than has been done, but traffic safety is a priority. So we're happy to look at any of those situations.
Yeah, Chris, and I think that, well, I'm sure that you received my message about all of the things that's on Marion Avenue. I'm concerned about all of the utility lines that are down, more than anything, because a person nearly tripped and fell. And I saw my neighbor, who is on a cane, pretty much, that was going across there today, because she had to walk very carefully, got to keep from tripping over the lines that are there. And I don't know what it's going to take for them to take those lines up off the street. Some are going across the street, and I cannot believe that they are neglecting and leaving these lines down. And I hate to say everything that I'm thinking right now, and I would not say it, but I cannot believe that they are neglecting and leaving these lines down on the street and in front of a person's door, that they have to step over these lines because to go in and out of their door.
And we, just to be clear, we have several different types of lines that folks might see in the community. There's Duke Energy's power lines, and then there are multiple telecommunications providers that have lines and poles in the community.
And
So
that's
when
what
we
I
get,
think they are.
when we get calls about those, we refer them, you know, we refer the specific location to the utility providers. Utility providers are working through their systems. They're trying to, in this case, there are some telecommunications outages around, and there are a bunch more cleanup type and work that is yet to occur on that. We're communicating with them as best we can, but as a general rule, it's in our interest and their interest for them to handle their equipment. We're not in a position to handle their equipment for them for a variety of reasons.
Chris, one of the questions I get pretty frequently is about Main Street and the intersection of Main and Mills where the light is gone. I mean, it looks to me like the pole was damaged to the point of destruction and there's replacement equipment needed. We're waiting on that to be sourced.
We have ordered equipment. Jay, you want to share any more that I don't know the?
Next week, so
Okay.
get a contractor to see if they gotta dig the hole, they gotta bore the hole for that mess.
We immediately ordered the equipment. It's
Right.
just the logistics of getting it in and put back up. And then we'll have that intersection functioning normally.
And back to Ruth's point, in communication with the utilities providers, I mean, have they been able to give us any insight into when they think they'll have their equipment that's lying around picked up?
The short answer is no, sir. They have not been able to share that.
I think it'd be important for them to know that it's an area of concern.
Yes, sir. They do. I know they're working through there's a hierarchy of issues that they're working through, and restoring service is higher than
For sure.
the aesthetics, but they will be responsible for the aesthetics.
Yeah, well, and I think it's more than aesthetics. I mean, there's hazard associated with some of that.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, I get it. I mean, they got a lot on their plate, but.
My apologies, I had some stuff on my feet.
Oh,
My apologies. He asked me earlier about updates, and I totally forgot. Jay, myself, and Buddy Bush attended a FEMA meeting coordinated by a county emergency management team on Friday. And they, if you are not aware, they have now established a disaster recovery center. at 175 Community College Drive, which is on the campus of Spartanburg Community College. You can go there as individually. However, for those that can't get there from a transportation standpoint, we will soon have a team that they will set up a mobile disaster recovery center that will be strategically located in 2 proposed areas in the city, C.C. Woodson, T.K. Gregg in the city, and then various locations across the county. In addition to that, they have a team that will go door to door. They have data that they receive from the city. They have data that they receive from the county. They will use that data to actually go door to door in areas of high impact. So we'll have information on that soon. The door to door, we will know the areas that will be prioritized foot to foot. So we'll make individual neighborhood associations aware. You can expect people into your neighborhood with FEMA identified information going door to door. But we'll also publicize the locations of the mobile disaster relief centers that we'll soon hear about in the upcoming week.
Great.
Chris?
And just a quick note that the community college is on one of Sparta bus routes.
I've heard of repair work being delayed due to permitting issues. So we're still doing permits on the spot permitting for repair work, correct? Or are
yes.
I mean, we're keeping up. There's not a backlog.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any backlog. I have not heard of
I'll
any.
dig into it. I just pulled about it.
I know our team has field permitted a lot of work, particularly when power meters were pulled off of houses by trees and that kind of thing. More extensive construction repair work.
What about when trees fall on houses and then rebuilding the house back?
We're doing our best to turn it all around. So if there's certainly an address or an issue, I'll be happy to follow up on. We want to get folks back in their homes as quickly as we can.
Do you know, Chris, when, are there plans this fall for any type of the city events to resume on Morgan Square?
We have special event planned for the 10th of November. Well, why don't you share more about that?
Yeah, this is our Kindness Day. We're promoting it. You know, we had the Council International Festival, National Night Out. And so Parks and Rec team have collaborated with our community relations team to promote Kindness Day. It's just to get people back out, activate, celebrate who we are as a community. So that's happening on November the 12th, November the 10th, that Sunday, on the eastern side of Main Street. And we'll have some vendors out there and some youth activities and engagement. And actually in our meeting that we had on Friday, FEMA asked could they attend as well. So FEMA could be located there to register people with any concerns they might have for that day. They've been invited, and we noted when we provided the information to them as well.
Can the food vendors from the International Festival come and
There have been
there?
coordination with food. I can't tell you exactly who the vendors
Right.
are with the notice, but we will have food vendors there that will be celebrating our community and having an event.
Councilwoman Littlejohn, you had a question?
Oh, no.
She answered, okay.
Okay.
That's it? Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Story.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate that. Staff, city council update. My normal routine to my right.
Yep. 2 reminders for everyone. Get your flu shot. I had the flu last week and it was horrible. You don't want that. And then secondly, go vote if you haven't voted already. It's a big one on all sorts of different levels. I had the pleasure of talking to actually Councilman Rain's daughter's Girl Scout group about elections. We held a mock election for our favorite candy. People that don't agree with us, how we're gonna talk about our community the day after the election. And I reminded those girls that the day after, we're all still neighbors, we're all still Americans, we're all still people who show up to make Spartanburg a better place to live and a better community for them to grow up in. So flu shot and vote, and go Yankees. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Go Yankees.
Well, I could that last sentiment, but And I think, Mitch, it's appropriate that, coming on the heels of an election, that, our first community event is Kindness Day, because it'll be an important theme to underscore. Congratulations to our Citizens Academy graduates. We appreciate the time and investment that they have made to participate, and encourage them to stay active in our community. And then, just everybody, please be so careful on Halloween. As Chris referenced, this is not going to be a normal Halloween, and with all the debris and all the trick-or-treaters, there's just a recipe for increased risk, and we want to make sure everybody takes special attention to that and is safe.
Okay, Councilman Brown.
Mr. Mayor, congratulations to the Citizens Academy, and look forward to seeing you all. They're not here, but hopefully you're listening from home. Looking forward to seeing you all getting more engaged and running for office, and hopefully one day sitting up here. I believe by the next time you all see me, I'm going to be a married lady. So I'm looking forward to celebrating with those of my colleagues that are able to make it, and just starting a new chapter in my life. And speaking of marriage, Pride Week, Upstate Pride Week, it's this week. And it's actually, I didn't plan it this way, but this Saturday will be our annual Pride March. I hope you all can join us in celebrating what makes our community wonderful. It's about celebrating love and diversity and inclusiveness, and looking forward to being there and giving the proclamation, and hope to see you all there. I'm a little sad that my friend's not here, because I wanted to invite her and assure her there will not be men in diapers, but thank you all for coming.
Okay. Councilman Ray.
I didn't have any additional updates. I thought everyone did a great job. Please vote was the one I wanted to echo. Everything else was great, though.
Okay.
Councilwoman Littlejohn.
Okay, Kevin, I'm not going to ask you now, because now's not the time for it, but the next time that you come up, please give us a status on the bus transit. From September the 27th up until October the 25th, I had no internet, no telephone, and no TV. I mean, I feel like I have been beaten down over and over, and mentally, it has affected me. I'm not cussing y'all out or anything like that. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I'm just saying, mentally, I am tired. We had a problem with children from Carver and from Mary H. Wright crossing South Church Street, and that has been a problem through the years, and it was difficult for the state to do something because it's a state road. But I am grateful to the city now that we have a crossing guard there, right? Have you all put somebody there on Church Street? You said you were.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We
all
haven't
right.
had a crossing guard?
No, it was a mix-up with a person, it was a mix-up with an employee of ours taking leave and communication, but that has been addressed.
Okay.
Okay, and voting, before you pull the lever to cast your vote, you have two opportunities to check and make sure that your ballot is right and the people that you want to vote for are there. Make sure you review that ballot and you make sure that it's right before you print it out. And then on, wait a minute, because there was one more thing here, and then I'm going to let that be. Well, I guess that's it, because I can't find my other thing here. Okay, thank you.
Shockingly short.
Yeah, shockingly short. Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, I'm gonna be even shorter, because I think that, the most important things has been said, and that is to go out and vote. I've already cast my ballot, and I'm waiting on the results. Thank you all, and congratulations to the Citizens Academy students.
Good, thank you. Citizens Academy participants, thank them for their graduation. I think they're having dinner and getting their certificates at this time. Morgan Square Madness this past week was outstanding by USC Upstate. There was a celebrity basketball shootout where they picked different celebrities from across the city to participate in a three-point shooting contest, Kelvin, you know, and our very own Councilwoman Brown had the opportunity to shoot, and she's played in quite a few celebrity basketballs, and I will say she has shown how she was one time the player of the year in the state of South Carolina. When we played in the day school, Ball for All, we've done it a couple of times, but I will have to say on this event, the Morgan Square Madness, Shay has come to Jerome, Erica's just missing all of her shots. Erica's just missing all of her. But we had a great time out there.
Morgan Square is not level. I'm sorry.
We had a great time out with Dr. Harris and his team kicking off the basketball season for the men and women basketball teams. So great time, great time. The state band competition will be at Spartanburg High School this coming Saturday. It is a full-day event. I will have the opportunity to present the winners at two sections. One is at 3 and another one's about 10:30 that evening. I don't know how I agreed to that, but they got me. Yeah.
I'll be there if you need me to stand there.
You can be there at 10:30. No? And North of Maine, the book about the back of the college. They had a book signing at Chapman Culture Center Tuesday. Dr. Pruitt will have another one at Walford on November the 12th from 5 to 6 at one of the theaters. I forget the name.
Richardson?
Only theater? Only theater will be the books, another book signing and release of North of Maine, talking about the back of the college. And Councilman Foreman and I were over in Greenville for 10 at the Top and to talk about homeless last week as well. So just outstanding things going on. Staff, again, thank you for what you're doing, man. You're really trying to overcome this hurricane. And I know there's a lot of work to be done, but there has been a lot of work that has been done. There's a lot of work to go, but it's still a lot that has been done. Jay, thank you, and thank your team for me as well. All right, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's go. Jay, real quick, please.
He doesn't want to come this way. He think I'm going to ask him a question. I said, you